Hey guys, it's Becca. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing my Pregnant at Disney survival guide. So these are my top tips for going to Disney World pregnant. I just got back from Disney recently, and while we were there, I was 22 weeks pregnant, and I feel like I went as prepared as possible, but I definitely learned a few things along the way, so that's what I'm gonna share with you guys today, so let's get started. So my first and most important tip out of this whole video is to take breaks. Take more breaks than what you think you even need. When you are pregnant, there are all kinds of aches and pains and swelling and all kinds of stuff that people don't prepare you for. And taking breaks can really help prevent that and ultimately help you have a way more fun vacation because you're not in pain. So that was my biggest concern going into this trip. Previously or prior to our trip, I was having some pelvic issues and was just really nervous going to Disney World thinking, man, this is gonna be a nightmare trying to walk around. This is gonna be awful. But I feel like I really took care of my body while we were there, and I gave myself breaks. And breaks looked different in every park. Sometimes it looked like we would stop and, get a snack or a drink somewhere and hang out, in the shade for 15 or 20 minutes. Other times it looked like going and sitting at a show. It just, depending on where you're at, it's gonna look different, but we were very intentional about taking lots of breaks. My husband was so sweet the whole trip. Every 30 minutes or so, it seemed, he was asking me, how are you feeling? Do we need to stop? Do we need to get some water and sit down? And but it really helped keep me in check because I'm the type of person that's just gonna push through, power through no matter what, no matter how I'm feeling. And he really kept me in check to remind myself, okay, yeah, you're right. I probably need to take a break, stop while I'm ahead. Even if I'm feeling good, take a break now to save myself from being in pain later. So that was a huge reason that we enjoyed our trip so much, was because I was able to be pain-free because I took care of myself and I didn't try to push it too far and do more than what I thought I could do. So that is my most important tip of this whole video. If you only even get this far, this is the most important thing. Just take breaks and take care of your body. My next tip is to strategize with rides. This is something that I definitely prepared myself for. Going into Disney World, okay, I'm not gonna be able to ride any of the roller coasters or Tower of Terror or, some of the obvious things that you would never ride pregnant, but there are a few rides that are kind of in this gray area, and it just depends on how far along you are, really. So some of those rides include Star Tours, Toy Story Mania, Alien Swirling Saucers. I'm trying to think of another ride that Frozen Ever After actually was pretty bumpy and rocky, and so rides that kind of have these like jerky motions that pull you side to side, really bumpy. It can just be uncomfortable depending on how large your belly is. And being 22 weeks, I wasn't huge yet. I feel like I was still able to ride a few of those, but I think if I had been any further along, those rides may have been pretty uncomfortable. So Frozen was a good example of that, where it was doable, but I don't think I would ride Frozen Ever After any larger than I was, any further along, if that makes sense. Another ride I did that's kind of in that gray area is Toy Story Mania. And that was definitely a borderline ride. Again, 22 weeks, I still had, a little baby bump, but nothing, huge yet. And I think if I had been any further along, I don't think Toy Story Mania would have been a good fit for me physically. Just again, it's pulling you and making sharp turns and, moving around these corners really quickly. Same thing with Alien Swirling Saucers, Star Tours, just those real bumpy rides that even though it's not a roller coaster, it still has those jerky movements that can just be uncomfortable. So definitely think through those rides based on how far along you are and what you think you can handle. It just really comes down to how far along you are. Some great options that were a really good fit for me though were most of the dark rides, boat rides, shows and performances, those kind of sit through longer attractions, those kind of things were amazing. So we did Carousel of Progress, Mickey's Our Magic. Those were kind of our go-to attractions being pregnant, and it gets you in the air conditioning as well. And we did People Mover several times. So things like that where you're able to get off your feet and either get in the breeze or the air conditioning, go for those attractions. You know, some of the other ones, I think Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Little Mermaid, Peter Pan's Flight, and that's just Magic Kingdom. So, you know, definitely look through a list of all the rides in the parks and just think through what you can do and what might be a little too much. Even if you are further along in your pregnancy, don't be discouraged thinking that I'm gonna have a horrible time, I won't be able to get on anything, I can't do anything, because that is not the case. There are so many things you can do while pregnant at Disney. So I think a lot of people just assume, oh, you can't ride rides, but there are so many fun things, especially all the shows. There are so many shows. I mean, one of our favorite ones that we did this past trip was the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. Those are great. So anything like that is gonna be an awesome fit for being at Disney pregnant. My next tip is, well, this may seem pretty obvious, but stay hydrated. And that, I guess, can go for anybody in general. You don't have to be pregnant to just stay hydrated at Disney, but especially when you're pregnant, you have to stay hydrated because it affects so much more than just your body. It's obviously affecting another life inside of you. And I think that was one thing I had to remember was, okay, I know I'm already going to the bathroom so many times and I'm gonna have to pee like every 10 minutes because I'm drinking so much water, but it's worth it. So the good news is they have bathrooms at Disney about every 20 feet. So that was me basically every 20 feet or so. It was like, oh, another bathroom. Look, I'll probably have to go by the time I get there. But I'm glad I stayed so hydrated. I think it really also helps with the swelling in your feet. There was one point in our trip where my feet, my ankles, and even all the way up to my calves were like marshmallows. It was pretty comical, actually. I couldn't even fit into my tennis shoes anymore, and I'll get into the shoe situation here in a minute, but I think drinking enough water can really help keep the swelling down in addition to taking lots of breaks. So that was one thing. I think the day my feet really swelled, like really bad, was one of the days where I wasn't drinking enough water and we did a lot of walking, more so than any of the other days we were there. So I think staying hydrated while pregnant really affects more than what you think it does. So be proactive, just constantly drink water. I mean, every time you pass any kind of quick service location, just go up and ask for free ice water because it's always there and they make it super convenient for you to stay hydrated, but just be intentional about it. And my next tip kind of ties into the swelling of the feet issue, but the shoes. Make sure you pack comfortable shoes. This is huge, you guys. I packed tennis shoes and then I also went out and bought a pair of Skechers sandals that had a lot of straps and they had even memory foam underneath the strap so it wasn't rubbing on my feet to cause blisters or anything like that. They were amazing. You guys, those Skechers sandals saved the entire trip for me. I'm not even kidding. I will link them below. They're not the most stylish, cute sandal in the whole world, but I promise you, they will save your Disney trip. I was able to adjust them as my feet were swelling throughout the day. I would just make them looser and looser. And I'm so thankful I had them because at one point I just couldn't fit into my tennis shoes anymore. And the sandals really saved the day. So highly recommend those sandals. I would say go out and shop for something else, but just buy these sandals. Just buy the Skechers sandals. They're so amazing. Definitely invest in some really comfortable shoes while you're pregnant at Disney. My next tip is if you are still struggling with nausea, morning sickness, I was gonna say if you're in your first trimester, but I mean, really, I know some pregnant women who have experienced nausea all the way through their pregnancy. So, I mean, everybody's different. But if that's something that you're struggling with or you have experienced it all, I would highly recommend to skip the dining plan this trip. Even if you are an avid dining plan Disney goer, I think it's really worth really sparing yourself from having to commit to certain meals. When you are having that nausea or even food aversions at Disney, there are certain meals that just do not sound good. So for me, especially in the first 12 weeks, I could not eat meat. There was no way, get it away from me. Even vegetables, any like home cooked meal, it just was awful. I only wanted snacky things and fruit. And if we had been on the dining plan while I had been at Disney 12 weeks pregnant, there's no way I could have taken advantage of all of those credits. They would have all gone to waste, and I just would have ended up paying out of pocket for little fruit cups and chips all day. I mean, that's all that sounded good. So if that's something you're experiencing, just skip the dining plan. It'll give you so much more freedom and flexibility to order what you want. Maybe it's a salad and, a snack or some chips, or maybe it is a burger, but at least you don't feel like you're committing to the most expensive thing on the menu because you got the dining plan. So it'll probably save you money by skipping the dining plan, and I think you'll just enjoy it better because you'll be able to have that freedom and flexibility to be able to order what you want to order when you want to order it. And my last tip is take lots of pictures. This is something I wish we had done more. I mean, of course we have our vlog footage, but I wish we had done more pictures. We have a good amount, but I mean, you're only pregnant at that stage for so long, and it goes by so quick, and I wish I had done more pictures to document being pregnant at Disney. It's such a fun, sweet memory, especially I'm imagining once our baby gets older and she's going to Disney, to be able to show her pictures of, look, this is mom pregnant at Disney, that was you were here. I think it'd just be really sweet, and I wish I had more pictures to document it. So I think it's just something really fun and easy, but go out of your way to take as many pictures as possible to document the trip. You won't regret it, and I want to be able to take more pictures just in general throughout pregnancy, and so why not do it at Disney World? All right, so those are all of my tips on how to survive Disney World pregnant. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever been to Disney pregnant, what your experience was. I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. I'm putting out a lot of vlogs from this most recent trip, so you can kind of follow along with us, but also make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.